Go.
There you go.
All right, here we are. This is podcast number 2. I've got Greg Orlowsky here. We are first day of summer, 2025 in, where are we, Greg?
Boise, Idaho.
Boise, Idaho, and where specifically
There's a distinction there. It's Boise, not Boise. That's a very important distinction.
All right. So where are we located? Where are we in Boise?
We're at the Boise Depot. It was an Amtrak station and is no longer, and they're trying to bring it back. So hopefully they'll be able to bring back the station to Boise.
Very good, very good. So occasionally we might get a freight train that runs through, and we've got some folks that'll walk around. There's some beautiful historic markers here. It's a beautiful park around here, and we might get a little bit of wind noise. So bear with us as we go through this. We're going to learn a little bit about Greg Orlowsky. And Greg, I've known you for decades, at least 30 years. We actually met at the REI store here in Boise as they were getting ready to open it. The store hadn't been opened yet, and we were both hired as part-time employees.
Yes.
And young in our family life with children. Had you had your kids yet or not?
Yes, we had Peter.
You had Peter, okay, and we had Grace, our daughter Grace. So I think a big thing that linked us together was they had a night was meet family members or whatnot. It was a get together, and our two wives got together, and they became like sisters. From that night, they just connected, and they've been linked up, and we've been tagging along together for all these decades.
Exactly.
So we'd meet up, and occasionally maybe years would go by, we wouldn't be in contact or meet up, and then we'd meet up annually. So here we are now. We've met up a couple of times this year, and I figured that I think it'd be a great opportunity to speak to you. We've had some great stories.
Yes.
So maybe we should start with growing up. You didn't grow up out here in the West. Tell me about that.
Oh boy, I grew up in Crosswicks, New Jersey. Born in Trenton, New Jersey, in 1963.
Now, Crosswicks is located. What's the nearest biggest thing that people would know?
Probably Trenton.
Okay.
The state capital.
Okay.
The only state capital where you can get mugged on the State House steps.
Okay.
That's the way we described Trenton.
Okay. Okay.
But I was 10 minutes from where Washington crossed the Delaware. I was an hour to New York City, 45 minutes to Philadelphia, an hour to the shore, and there were just a lot of things. It was an idyllic growing up, because we had such a sense of community, and our parents would shush us out in the morning, and we'd show up back in the evening when they called for dinner. I mean, it was, and you could go to somebody's house and borrow an egg or some butter or some cereal or whatever you needed, and their house was always open. And it was just that kind of neighborhood that
everybody knew each other on the streets.
Everybody, and you left your keys in the car. You just never.
Yeah. How big's the town?
About 300 people.
Oh, just real small.
Yeah.
So maybe a stoplight or two?
No stoplights.
No stoplight in towns. One of these famous no stoplight towns.
Yeah.
And then, do you have any sense of how it's grown over the years? Have you been back there?
Oh, it's a bedroom community for Princeton now.
Okay.
So
Princeton's nearby.
Yeah, and we would go to Princeton a lot for hockey games, and the shops were there in Princeton, and it was a great place to hang out. There were plays. There were some battlefields from the Revolutionary War, and actually in Crosswicks we had a battlefield too. We had the Quaker Meeting House, and it was a common area in the everybody's house abutted to the back of the Quaker Meeting House, and there's like a cannonball that they have that was shot by the Hessians.
So this town has been there since the founding of our country.
1677 is when it was settled.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then you said as a bedroom, it's just expanded out, and so from 300 when you lived there in the early 1970s to now, what would you imagine?
Not much more than that, really.
Still small.
It's still small.
Still small.
Yeah.
And it's incorporated. It's its own. Has a mayor and a council and so forth.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, but it's coming from New Jersey. We have something called townships.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
Out here in because they need. It's so dense population that they needed another. Besides the county, they wanted a little bit more administrative offices and things for better representation for the public to get representation and services and such. So I grew up in Chesterfield Township,
Okay.
which is in Burlington County, and they just don't have townships out here.
Right.
So
So now you were born in Trenton. You grew up in this small town, and then all the way through high school. Did you go?
oh yeah, all the way through high school.
Yeah.
And my mom was a teacher at Rancocas Valley and
What did
Mount
you
Holly.
teach?
She was English. She taught language. Whatever she got multiple certifications and so remedial English, whatever. Yeah,
She was pretty formidable at that school because they had a building
yes, they had an
addition.
a library edition, and they named it after my mom.
That's
So
huge.
That is huge, and she was also the president of the school board at my school at Northern Burlington, and we had a lot of leeway because of her status.
What does that mean, leeway?
I could do pretty much anything, I didn't need a hall pass. They knew who I was, so if I was in the hall, they'd just say, "Hey, Greg," and other people, they would say, "Where's your hall pass?" Right? So I had a
Now
certain.
You have 4 siblings. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And one of them is a twin.
That is correct.
So tell me about your twin.
My twin did not have the privileges I did.
How come? Why is that? You guys look similar. You're not identical twins.
Correct. We're fraternal.
Yeah.
But
I just saw his picture last night. You look fairly close, though.
We're
I
close.
would probably mistake you in a crowd.
yeah, exactly. And
How come he didn't have the same privileges as you?
he was not academically oriented,
Okay.
and he barely passed. It was a gift to pass high school. And just some people are different,
Yeah.
and academics wasn't for him at the time. So
Okay.
he was getting in trouble here and there, and nothing major.
Yeah. He'll be listening to this broadcast, so
I know that.
Yeah.
Hello, Nick.
Tell me about your other siblings.
I have an older brother, John.
How much older?
7 years.
Okay.
And
Were you guys close at all, or with that spread, there's a little bit of a
there
a
is
space
two
there?
different. There is 2 different parts of our family: the olders and the youngers.
Okay.
He was out when I was in junior high. So, but he was into building electronics and built his own stereo. We were always amazed at that
Did
stereo.
you go off to college?
Yeah, he went to Reed College in Portland, Oregon.
Wow. How did that happen? So from the East Coast, and Reed is famous with Steve Jobs.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So I don't know how he ended up at Reed, to be honest with you. But he only lasted. He realized it was costing a lot of money, so he bailed on Reed and went to Oregon State, which was a lot. He'd gotten his residency by then, so he got in-state tuition at Oregon State.
In Corvallis.
Yeah.
Got it. Very good.
So
Very good. So that's interesting. Okay, because that Corvallis connection comes back later.
it certainly does.
And then your other siblings, I don't want to leave them out.
Yeah. Okay. I have Gay. She's in the East Coast in Maryland right now, and she was very much into international. She has a degree in international economics, and she went to Columbia for a period to study, and went to England for a period to study, and so she's very much an international oriented person.
Very
Loves
good.
to travel.
Yeah. Family?
She has 2 kids.
Okay, great. And you have one more sibling.
I have, well, Nick has 2, and then Meg, my youngest sister, has
No,
3.
your siblings. So you were going
Yeah.
to mention one more sibling of yours.
Yeah, Meg.
Yes.
And she's down in southern Florida in Boca.
Okay.
Has a nice little condo there, and then they have a nice property up in Georgia that they call Paradise, and it's 40 acres of just heaven. It's on top of a mountain, and they have all sorts of ATVs and a huge guest house, and it's it's really nice.
You guys are pretty close?
Yes,
Good.
we're
Good.
close.
Good.
We're a close family. We travel together every couple of years. My parents, before they died, my mom really wanted the cousins to know each other, and so she asked us to have trips together every couple of years, so that the cousins could get together and actually know each other. And we did that with our cousins too. So growing up, we would go to New York, to Long Island, and spend time with the cousins and stuff like that, and her sister out there on Long Island. So we would travel a lot, and we would go on like houseboating trips on the Thousands Islands, and we had friends that we'd bring along, and it'd be a hoot. We would travel on the Great Lakes on the houseboats, and have all sorts of stories to tell.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Yes.
Tell those stories. Is there anything particular that stands out? One big one that you remember on a houseboat?
I can go for 2. My younger sister Meg was given the opportunity at a very young age to drive the houseboat, and she was doing a good job. However, there was a buoy in front of her, and she, being a young gal, she was probably 9 years old.
So this buoy, tell us about the buoy first.
Well, it was just
it's pretty prominent.
Yeah,
size?
it was a pretty prominent. It was a lane marker,
Okay.
for.
Is it
the
stationary?
channel.
Is it set?
Yeah, it's set.
Okay, it's not something on a tether.
No,
Gotcha.
it was set, and it was big, and it was.
What lake was this in?
This was in one of the locks that we were
Okay, going through a
coming
lock.
up to, and so it was just kind of forcing us into the lock. And,
I'm sorry, which part of the country was this?
this was on, I believe, Lake Erie.
Okay, Erie.
Yeah. So
So you're approaching the.
we were approaching Lake Erie.
Where were you? Were you near her as she was doing this?
I was.
As she was navigating?
Yes, I was. We were all close by, and then she just kind of gave up the wheel and said, "Ah!"
Okay. How old was she then?
Oh, she was 9. I mean,
Okay,
she was young.
just a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And who was backing her? Who was on the? We've got an airplane. It's just that's actually a helicopter. Just went right over our head. That's okay.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep going through it.
Yeah.
So somebody obviously was supervising her at that point. Yeah.
Well, my dad was,
Okay.
yes,
He was
but
right
he
next
was.
to
We were getting ready to, kind of dock, and it's just he just gave her the wheel, and she took it, and then gave it up quickly, and we had to make a big maneuver to avoid the
to step it up and avoid a collision.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would have been sunk because we had those little
Oh, wow.
pontoons.
Oh, my.
It was a pontoon boat.
Oh, it would have been
It would
a
have
serious
been a
disaster.
tragic situation.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
And then you had another.
Yeah, it was a windy day, and I had my thumb on on the door, and the door slammed shut on my thumb, and took my nail out.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
It was hard. It was.
How old were you?
I was young. I was probably 12, and it hurt. It hurt a lot. I mean, it was going away. It kind of ruined the trip because I was in a bandage, but Mr. Guido is the one who patched me up, and he was a family friend, and we would travel often with the Guidos, Grace and Al Guido.
Oh, that's nice.
He was a mentor also, just
How did
a
he
great
mentor
guy.
you?
Well, we would just sit around in his house and visit. He was probably one of my dad's best friends.
So in town?
No, actually, they were always up in Frenchtown along the Delaware River, up a bit. Probably
how much?
30 minutes.
30 minutes away.
30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But
how did they meet up?
I believe they met up at the YMCA. Linda was their daughter's name, and they were at we would go to the YMCA for daycare and activities and such. And so Grace and my mother became best friends through that experience. And they had just one child, and Linda. So they would go on. We were fast friends, and we would always have like parties, and we'd have. My parents were in the party generation, which you don't see anymore.
Tell me more about that party generation. So meeting up with neighbors and so forth, and
associates and such, and they would have a party probably once a month.
Right. So like a barbecue or what? Just,
a barbecue or a cocktail party.
Gotcha.
and such.
So they're doing something and the kids are playing and
yeah, absolutely.
off
Or
out.
sometimes they would we would have us away from their party, and we'd be on the stairs trying to look down and spy on the goings on of the party, and maybe try to sneak something to eat or something that
something
was
different,
special.
Yeah.
And
so you mentioned, growing up, and you'd go out in the morning and come back late, and it was just the free range. That's kind of coming back. There's a turn back to that concept. We've seen a little bit in the town that I live in, and it's in my opinion, it's refreshing to see that.
Absolutely.
But give me a sense of did you have a posse, a group of friends that you would hang with, and then what were some of the favorite things that you guys would do?
Oh, I don't know. It was Jimmy and Tim and Daryl and Russell and
you guys are out
Catherine. There. Oh yeah.
All right.
They're out there. They're going to see this.
Yeah.
So
what, you guys have your bikes?
We would have bikes and sometimes we would go into the woods and camp out. We were.
Did you live near the Pine Barrens?
We were.
Or was that too far?
That was when we were older.
That was not close by.
Yeah, we had woods that we had the Crossroads Creek, and that was our main entertainment, if you will.
Yeah.
Because it froze in the winter, and we would go skating on it and stuff. But we were in the woods a lot. We'd build forts and little diggings, and we would look for old stuff that was, because the town was settled in 1677, and
So you guys would find some
we
historic.
would find broken things, yes. But so it was just we would go on hikes, and we'd go fishing a lot, and we would lose a lot of poles to the Crossroads Creek. There were a lot of snags, and it was
That
sad.
sounds like a great
It was
childhood.
amazing. We would go sledding on the hill, down the Firehouse Hill, and sometimes the Wilsons, and there were many a broken leg and many.
Did you break any bones?
I've never broken a bone.
Wow.
Ever.
But your friends would
climb.
Did you climb trees also?
Oh yeah, we made forts in the trees, in the woods.
Yeah.
We would get old boards together, and
That's pretty.
there was no
industrious,
codes,
yeah.
luckily.
Pardon me? No.
No building codes.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any building codes for kids playing in the woods.
It's surprising that we didn't fall out of said trees. Yes.
Do you have a sense that there are things that your parents never really knew?
Oh, absolutely.
Right, and you guys kept it kind of
absolutely.
like, hey, this is our world, and it was probably better left. Although with some kids breaking bones, there were some things that would have to come out, like how did that happen and so forth.
Exactly. But they.
Do you keep in touch with any of these guys?
Not a lot. My twin brother does more.
Yeah.
So I go back.
Did he hang with you too? Was he one of the guys in your group?
No.
Yeah. So he had his own group.
Yeah, a
of
little
buddies.
bit. He hung out a little bit. It was, yeah, he had a different group.
Was it all guys, or did you ever have girls?
Oh no,
like
we
a-
had we had girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
Definitely.
they-
We
in-
were
in
into
your-
the
in your
'70s
court-
streaking thing,
Yeah.
which everybody did at that point.
Yeah.
So
So that was a fun. Do you see your growing up, your childhood as a it just sounds like what you've told me over the years that it was, delightful, that it was a fun thing.
yeah, it was amazing. It was a good child because we could go anywhere. We could be in New York City, we could be in Philadelphia or at the coast and Princeton, and it was
Well, wait a minute. You're saying kids going off on their own to the
well,
big
no,
cities?
not on our own, but through our parents.
Right.
We would
Right.
travel a
Just
lot.
the access point,
Yeah.
the location where you grew up gave you great access to
Exactly.
big. And then you mentioned you'd go to the Met and see plays and
Yeah.
theater also. Did you
Yeah.
do museums as well?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There was the Franklin Museum in Philadelphia, and yeah, my parents were big into museums and stuff, so
Good.
we would get lost, and then we would be in the museum, and this is before cell phones and
course.
everything, and there was no way to track people.
Where you were, yeah.
And my dad would get lost for hours.
Really?
And we were trying to find him. We were done, ready to go, and
Oh, gosh.
he was off somewhere.
That was a common thing.
shopping.
Where's Dad?
Oh, where's Dad?
Yeah.
He's off somewhere.
Yeah.
And we're ready to go, and yeah. So, but yeah, it was trying to find people. I mean, we would have times that we would meet up, and nobody had a watch either. So,
So when you were growing up, you mentioned that tennis was a game that you played a lot.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
did you play in high school?
Yes, I did until they dropped it when I was a sophomore. So
Why did they drop it? Do you have an-
just budget cuts, I think.
That
Yeah,
must
so-
have been disappointing.
Yeah, I know. That was.
And then you didn't pick up any other sports?
I was soccer.
Okay, you did soccer too. Did you
Yeah.
play? Did you play high school through high school?
Yeah,
Varsity. So varsity soccer.
I was captain 2 years. Yeah.
Well, that's huge.
yeah.
So what? Junior, senior year?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think you maybe told me that years and years ago.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and I missed that. So that's huge. So
Yeah.
what position you play in soccer?
I was center back.
Okay.
So I was one of the fastest guys on the team.
Yeah.
We were so porous that somebody had to chase the guys down and
In
try
fact,
to
you
stop
talked
the
to
goals.
me the other day about a big soccer match that's coming up right now. Is that right?
Yes.
What's
yes.
that? USA and
USA beat Saudi Arabia in
Okay.
their round
and
1-0.
right in San Jose, California.
It was actually, I found out it was in Austin, Texas.
Oh, Austin, Texas. Okay.
Yes.
Correction there. That's okay. That's
Yeah.
fine. So that's good. So that's part of that
Oh, yeah.
that deep and abiding interest you still have in soccer.
Oh, I
It comes back.
listened
And
to,
how did you pick up soccer? Was that just from like childhood, or did you pick it up?
because I
you
didn't
know?
like track or football, I
Okay.
guess.
Okay.
And
So when did you start playing soccer?
in the 9th grade,
Did they have AYSO type programs
they
or
had
anything like that?
nothing for us.
Right.
And
Oh,
so,
in 9th grade. So in high
Yeah.
school. So it was
Yeah.
like a tryout.
Yeah.
And did you
absolutely.
know much about the game at all?
Nothing at all.
Okay.
And here's the deal: is that we were playing a league in southern New Jersey against the Italians.
So pretty
The
good.
Italians
Pretty good.
had leagues, and they had all sorts of development and such. I think they had soccer balls in their crib when they were born because they were really good.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
mean, they outclassed us.
Yeah.
Amazingly. When we first started playing soccer, it was sometimes 7 or 8-0.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
You stayed with it.
laughable.
You stayed with it.
But we stayed with it.
Did any of your
We got
friends
the-
from your hangout group, from your free range group, did they
No.
play soccer also,
No.
or was it just picked up a different
just
group of
picked
friends
up a
there?
group of friends.
Yeah.
And luckily, we had some international students from the high school that came in, and my senior year, we actually won, I think, 5 games,
It's huge.
and that was a big
Yeah.
thing. I
Yeah.
mean, they were kind of upset that we were starting to win, and a few years later, we went to state, so it
Wow.
was building the
So,
program out.
Play on that a little bit, because I've just stepped away from teaching, and I know some of the people that are going to be viewing this are some of my former students, elementary level. And what would you say to those kids that about perseverance, about not giving up, and how would you present that to them when they're learning something? What would be good advice for young people?
Never give up. Always seek to improve.
Yeah.
There's always room, and learn. And I didn't know of any camps, but go to camps. Learn your craft and give yourself patience. I mean, be patient with yourself.
That patience. Yeah.
Yeah,
Give
you have to be. So many people say, "Oh, I'm not good at that." Well, they haven't tried it yet, and they haven't spent the time.
That's what it is.
It's all about time, and yes, things
with
are
anything,
difficult.
Isn't it?
Anything.
Isn't it with anything?
I think anything.
Whether you want to be good at cooking an omelet, or or learning math, or being a good writer. Of course, the first time a child puts a pencil to a paper, they're trying to draw letters, and it's not easy. And if they would have given up, they would never learn to write their name.
Exactly.
So you're right. It's every step of the way. That you've got to work at it.
Absolutely.
It doesn't end, does it?
No, it never does.
Right? We keep learning.
I'm always learning. I mean, I do a technology, so things are always changing, and I'm always learning.
We're going to jump into that. We're going to jump into that in a bit.
But one thing about the soccer field, so I want to go back to.
Let's go back there. Yeah.
They used to seed when we started to get good. The other opponent teams we would visit would seed the ground with broken glass.
No.
Yes, and they would try to trip you.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it was bad. Yeah.
Man, that would not fly these days.
No,
not
at all. But
that would not work. Wow.
I played on many a field that you just did not trip. It was.
Oh my goodness. Gosh, you see a ball getting a hole in it too. That's pretty brutal there in Jersey. I'll tell you. You guys are something.
There were some rough spots in New Jersey.
So you would also go to Princeton and watch hockey's big in the Ivy schools. So that would be a thing you'd watch hockey. Did that ever interest you, playing hockey at all? There's a similarity to
I liked
to soccer.
my teeth. I liked my teeth. I did not want to lose.
In those days, it wasn't, the NHL, they didn't have a helmet rule back then. It was, even today you see the guys with, when they really show you their lack of
That was Bobby Clark's song, and all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth. My two front teeth.
Oh my gosh. That's good. That's good. Now, let's jump into scouting. You were into scouting a bit.
Yeah.
Did you do Cub Scouts at all? Did you start with Cub Scouts, or did you go to
It was more
Scouts?
Webelos.
Yeah, the Webelos. Okay, you went to Webelos.
Yeah.
And then from Webelos, you tell us about. You told me a bit ago, I think the last time we met up, about your scout leader.
Yes.
And you saw a dramatic difference in the way the leadership treated themselves.
Yeah.
And once you go and lead off on the story, it's quite a fascinating story.
Oh my gosh. Well, we would go on these camping trips, and the leaders would be in this beautiful World War II era tent. It was musty, but it was
the canvas type?
Yeah, but it was bomb proof. It was dry and musty, but it could stand up to a hurricane. We would have these flimsy little tents, and we had a foot of water in the tent at one point, and nobody showed us anything, how to put a gutter around a tent or anything, and we go to the leader's tent, and they're frying up a steak on the Coleman, and having a grand time, and
How old were you then?
I was probably 15.
Okay.
And we're outside. Wesley Brown is putting a gallon of gasoline on the fire because it's raining and we can't light it. And here it is, they're sitting with a Coleman. We're outside with a gallon of gasoline.
Oh my God.
Wesley puts it on the twigs that we were able to get, and whoosh, it was
Conflagration.
He lost his eyebrows on that one.
Oh my goodness.
and we were like cutting butter with sticks and stuff.
Oh,
It was like
rough.
just basically, fend for yourselves, survival of the fittest. Yeah.
That was a tough experience.
But
That was a tough
Bob
one.
was an interesting character. He got injured in the Battle of the Bulge, World War II, and he had a lot of stories just around surviving World War II, and he'd talk about just how bitter cold it was, and you couldn't give up. You had to persevere, and you had to move forward. That was it. I mean, but he survived and has many stories to tell, or had. He's passed, but we would go to his farm and.
What do you have? What kind of farm did you do?
He had a little gentleman's farm. He did kenneling for dogs and had some chickens and had a little pasture that he had some horses and such, and had a lake, and we go skating on his lake also. But just a lot of time spent in his house also.
Yeah. So you forgave him for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't. He didn't.
But it's a memory that sticks.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my God. How many years did you do scouting?
Well, I was probably in high school until sophomore, and then I was too cool.
Yeah.
Which I regret, but.
Tell me about that. So you would have kind of got.
Yeah, I would have gone
into
towards
I got peer pressure to leave scouting then.
Well, not peer pressure,
Yeah.
but as far as we changed leaders, and it just wasn't. As you get older, you kind of look at things and go, oh, maybe I don't agree with that. And
You got into different things then.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, soccer took up a larger part of my time and stuff. So.
Yeah. Good. What was your best subject in high school?
Oh, English by far.
And that your mom was probably an influence on
Yeah,
that?
probably.
Was reading, were you a passionate reader?
I read, not a ton, but I did read in high school. But I'm more of a listener, so I like to listen to things.
Yeah.
So I like podcasts. Hey.
Right. So back then, in those days, a lot of it was radio.
Absolutely.
And of course, television influences there. Did you watch a lot of TV?
We watched a lot of TV. Yeah.
So I hear so that was like as a family, you guys would certain shows that were like weekly.
Yeah.
Do you remember a couple of those that
Oh
were?
yeah, we'd if we were really good, watching Lassie.
Okay.
And then we'd set up and say goodbye to Lassie,
Yes.
like his Paul,
Yes.
And then if we were good, we got to stay up and watch Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke was a big one back then,
Yeah,
absolutely. And then later
Star
years,
Trek
it was the
we
Waltons.
did.
I don't know if that
Yeah,
was.
we kind of abandoned the Waltons after a while.
Okay.
And,
Okay. John Boy,
Yeah,
the whole thing with
Yeah.
that.
but lots of different programs there. Laverne and Shirley. And,
Right. They got into the
Mork and Mindy and
the comedy shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Opie.
yeah.
Good stuff. And then radio. Do you remember radio? Was it? Were there any shows?
We had a
popular music.
We had a out of Philadelphia. We had a program that was kind of off the wall. It was Chicken Man.
Okay.
And Chicken Man would come up and try to save the day, and he'd fail most of the time. But he would come out and he would announce himself. It's Chicken Man. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. And it was quite an interesting program.
How old were you then listening to that?
Oh, probably 16, 17.
Yeah. So it got your attention to the teen.
Yes,
huh?
absolutely.
Fun.
Absolutely.
Fun.
A little bit of
So
radio
then
drama.
let's progress a little bit. You have to make a decision at some point to go to college or not go to college. Was it ever a question whether you go to college or not?
For me, no, because my dad had the business, and I was going to help maybe run the business or be a part of it for the construction. And
Tell me about his business.
Crossworks Builders, and he was a custom home builder,
Okay.
and one of the rare guys that built from the foundation all the way to the roof. And
The entire
he would have contractors,
subs,
subs, a little bit, for the things he couldn't handle by himself.
Right.
But
he was actually doing the work himself. In those days, you'd
absolutely.
have the business owner would be out there doing it.
Absolutely, yeah. We floated the floors
and you
with
helped
concrete.
him doing that.
Absolutely.
Would that be a summer thing? When you were off from school?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'd wake up early, and he'd kick us out of bed and tell him we were going to go to work. So
what are the big skills you learned from that, as far as not only the craftsman skills, but things?
Well, I didn't learn many. I was the helper. I was the cleanup crew.
Okay. But
So,
even
that's
that,
important.
even that. So as far as I would imagine you're saying that he got you guys up early, and tell me more about that.
Well,
about working with your dad.
It developed a good work ethic. I mean, you had a job to do, and cleaning up is you had to keep the walkways clear and the
Clear
job
and safe.
safe. So it was an important job, but it was a worthy job. I think all work is worthy if it's done with intent and purpose and a desire to do your best. I mean, it's work.
How was
and
your
we got
dad?
paid a lot more money than our friends picking corn. So I was in construction making $10 an hour.
That's a
my
lot
friends
of money back then.
were in the field picking corn for $2.10 an hour. And they would always ask me for jobs. Does your dad hiring?
Tell me about. I want to learn more about your dad, about his style, about his approach, about how he worked with people. What were the things that we could learn about your dad, and how he communicated with people, and and nobody's perfect, but what kind of a light would you shed? Remember, your siblings are watching this.
Oh, I know. Yeah, well, they grew up with it too. But
That's right.
it was.
If you want to.
Yeah, I know. It was definitely his way, and it was. He was brilliant with construction, and knew a lot about it. And he would, it was his way or the highway.
Okay, so
There was a lot of cussing that went along with that in
Job
New Jersey, and just growing up, it's a rough and tumble existence.
Did he have a regular crew of guys, or did that change? I mean,
No, it would change.
Okay.
And he helped a lot of the lesser privileged people in town, and if they were down and out, my dad was a very giving person, and he would employ those that were, looking to take care of their family and stuff. And even though they might not be the best workers, he would still give them a job and help them. Even if they didn't work, he would, bring folks turkeys and things. So we would be with him to deliver food and such to those that were less fortunate. So in our town.
That's big.
We go back and they're the people that we know that he helped are that impacted him.
Absolutely.
They're
Especially
still,
during the holidays, things like that.
Exactly.
It's huge.
Yeah,
huge.
It was. We still get messages of appreciation for how generous my dad was.
Wow. That's
So
big. That's a big legacy.
Yeah. We had a lot of.
Did you guys have a sailboat?
Yes, we did.
Tell me about that. You'd go out to the
that
coast?
was our respite from the heat in New Jersey. We would go to the coast, and there was always a breeze. And
How far away did you guys live from the coast?
About an hour.
So even that, you'd get that humidity in the summer.
Oh, absolutely. That was awful.
And you guys were out there a lot on the coast.
Oh yeah, we would go to a place called Island Beach State Park, and it was about 13 miles long. Was the park on a spit?
Was your boat berthed there? Did you guys?
No, it was
you would bring it
both. Well, we would change where the boat was berthed, but we did once at Forked River, and the nuclear power plant was not too far from there. And normal blue crab would be about this big, and the ones by the nuclear power plant were this big, but it was just the warm water.
The warm water, yeah.
They could grow in.
Yeah. How big was Tell me about the sailing boat. How big
It was
was it?
only 24 foot, but we
Yeah.
could sleep all of us.
It's pretty big, yeah.
So yeah.
The whole family we could,
Yeah.
and you guys did. So you'd have,
Just almost every weekend in the summer. Yeah.
so you just spend weekends on.
Yeah, and I got to. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a great sailor, but we
Did he
it.
teach you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, they learned ourselves, and we had a few what we call white knuckle experiences.
Well, tell me about one of them.
Well, we were taking the boat down from where we purchased it, and in over our heads by a long shot, and it was a windy day, and we didn't know how to reef the sail. Reefing is when you take a full sail and then you make it about half as big, right, and you tie it off, so you have less propulsion from
So
the
you
wind.
have too much wind. It could.
Yeah, so
Tip you
our
over.
boat we were about over,
Oh my.
and I mean we were definitely, the water was coming in, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so
How'd you guys get out of it?
well, anytime that you were in the wind, if you went directly straight into the wind, there was no pressure, and so you would luft, and that's called the left when it's just hitting straight on. So just move straight into the wind, and it would not tip you over.
Okay.
But your sails would be fluffing, and
Fluttering, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So
you guys got through that.
we got through it. Yep, barely. But then we just gained experience over time.
What was think back for a second and think back to just a glorious sailing experience, something that was magic.
Oh, anytime we were out on the bay, on the Barnegat Bay, and we would go, and what was beautiful was that we could go dock the boat with the anchor halfway down Island Beach State Park, walk across the spit, and have the beach to ourselves. In New Jersey, that was quite a thing,
Yeah.
because there'd be millions of people at the beach, and you'd have to walk over these bodies to get to the ocean. Whereas with the boat, we could just, sail, and the beach was ourselves. I mean, that was huge.
So
That
how
was
old were you
idyllic.
when you guys were sailing?
Oh, probably from about 12 to 20. I mean, they got rid of the boat when we were done with college.
Wow. Was that hard for the family?
A little bit, but they got a bigger boat, and they didn't get a sailboat. They got a motorboat, and my dad would live on the motorboat versus renting. He got a job where he was moving more, and so he lived on the boat instead of
Wow.
renting. So
Wow.
he would, wherever he would get a job, he would move the boat.
Wow.
So
That's something.
yeah.
Tell me more. We've got a little background here. They've got a display by the train, and there's a very excitable dad. I love it, and his little son, and they have some displays that actually have a vocal. So we'll hear a little bit of that in the background. But that's all part of the fun of being in a live, production here, and we're just
Exactly.
going to let it roll. We'll keep it rolling.
Absolutely.
So you at a point in high school, when did you decide on the school that you went to for your business? Your first degree was in business.
Yes.
And when did you make that decision to go?
It was late. I went to Kent State. I went to a few other schools in Pennsylvania, but I think I wanted to get away from the Northeast.
Yeah.
And my mom knew.
So the first school you went to was Kent State.
to visit.
Just you're talking about
Yeah.
visiting. Got it.
Yeah.
You did
Yeah.
visit. Did you go? Who did you go with on the visits?
My mom.
Yeah, your mom went with you. Okay.
Yeah. So.
And so you wanted to be. So tell me about Barry. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with Barry College.
Yeah, it's a large campus. My mom actually knew the recruiter for Barry at Rancocas, so she got the connection, and it was a huge campus.
I'm sorry. Where's it located?
Rome, Georgia.
In Rome, Georgia. Okay.
Yeah, and
That's right. I've heard of it now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 30,000 acres. They had a big forestry program, and business was one of their majors, economics, English. They did a lot of agriculture majors. So,
Is it a private school?
yeah, it's private.
Okay.
Yeah, but as you were in the lounge, maybe falling asleep after watching TV and such. You would have your Coke, and you'd have to check your Coke out because
there might be a tour bus or something going on. We've got a lot of people coming in right now.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
okay. We'll just keep rolling.
Okay.
See if this works out.
Yeah, the Coke would sometimes end up with a little bit of tobacco, and they'd spit in your jar, and you'd realize, oh, nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you wake up and your eyebrows would be gone, those sort of thing.
So did the family have any connection in Georgia, or were you the first?
My sister actually lived in Georgia,
Okay.
but there was no connection to the school or anything. It's just
So she was there before you went to college.
She lived in Atlanta.
So that kind of, in a sense, that may have
that
didn't influence you to go to school there.
No.
To
No.
be near, was
I mean,
did
it
she
was a
live
help.
near near
No, it was
Rome?
about an hour and a half away.
Okay. That's
so
still
I
not
didn't,
that far.
But I didn't have a car to begin with, so
Yeah.
I didn't.
So you're on campus without a car.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you did your 4 years there.
I did 4 years.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
You got your BA in
Business.
business. Okay.
Yeah.
And-
And then the business folded. So my dad was he was thinking about getting back
So
into
you did the business degree to help your dad with his. That was
Yeah,
the
that was
thought,
the
was to take
thought.
over the business in a way.
and eventually, but
Yeah.
interest rates, remember, had gone to 22%, and when you have
And this is in the later 70s in the Carter
in the 80s,
Carter
yeah,
era,
early 80s,
early 80s as well.
yeah. So he was trying to recover and bring the business back, but
So
it
it
never,
just people weren't the custom building business in that.
yeah,
It
it
just folded off.
it was away, it was gone.
Wow.
Yeah, for the small guy,
Yeah.
and he was just a small builder.
On the custom building side, did he work with architects, or did he handle the drawings and the plans as well?
Yeah, he worked with architects.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they would handle
But
the
he would
drawings.
have all the drawings and all the specs and everything. So he would modify them. The architects were useless at some points, and he was very good at determining where the architects had their faults. And
Right. A drawing is not necessarily something that's structurally.
it wouldn't work
capable.
out. Yeah, exactly. So he had that knowledge to say, no, we're going to do it this way.
Okay.
And it was something that he was just an expert in carpentry. And
How
knew
did
what would work.
How did he get that skill set?
He was mentored by a carpenter in, I believe, Princeton, and just learned the craft over a couple of years, and was mentored effectively. And that was.
Did he have a partner, or did he was just a sole
No,
proprietor?
just a sole proprietor.
Wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
There's something that you told me yesterday that I was pretty amazed. It was yesterday or the day before. And it's something about eggs and something about a patent.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. That blew me away.
Yeah, it was
What was that about?
It was the Inman Box Company. My grandfather apparently had one of the first patents for egg cartons.
Egg cartons.
Yeah.
And this was about what year was this?
I couldn't name a year.
Like, I mean, a turn of the century, or
In that area, yeah. I would say
19 something,
maybe even before that.
18s.
Yeah, it could
1890s.
be that. Yeah, because I know that the manufacturing facility was from the mid 1800s onward. But
Do you have any? Are they still in existence? I mean, we know the egg. We're talking about
yeah, the egg
at the
carton,
store
yeah.
where we get the
Yeah.
12 in and 18.
They
and
were
whatnot.
from my understanding, that was the big racks, so it wasn't the individual.
Okay, it's not that what we end up with at the store. The 12
exactly.
pack,
It was
the
more
dozen.
like the pack that you get
Industrial.
at Costco, where you have like 48
Got it.
or 60
Okay,
eggs.
the big pack.
Yeah.
And what kind of material? Was it cardboard back then? What did they use for that?
I have no clue.
Okay, so you, as a family, you guys don't have any of the.
That's something that we should probably investigate.
Wouldn't that be something? Huh?
Yeah, they were based out of, I believe, Schenectady, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah, even to pull up the patents, and
Yeah.
and to look at that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good little project, family project that would come up. So Berry College, the company folded. His dad, it changed, and then what was your path after that?
Very good question. I saw my friends get into the corporate world and hate it. Just hated it.
Yeah.
And
So you have this degree, you have this business degree that kind of gets you into that
that
space,
realm,
and that
but
was something
they were-
that influenced you not to go into that space.
well, yeah, I would talk to them, and they said, "Don't get into that." No, it's a.
What was your older brother doing at this time? Because you had just finished college, and what was he?
He was getting his master's at Oregon State in.
In what field was that?
I believe it was crop science.
Okay.
Some crop field.
Big ag
He
school.
worked with peanuts and stuff in Eastern Oregon.
Okay. So I was wondering trying to figure out who was influencing you to
No.
obviously you
There was-
shifted
there
and you
was
didn't go
friends
into.
that I would talk to
Yeah.
from college. Then they said, "Don't get into."
So what'd you do?
I used Intercristo and worked for the Baptist Children's Homes of North Carolina,
Okay.
and was a counselor for kids there that were juvenile offenders.
Okay.
And it was either go to juvenile or go to the camp.
Got
And
it.
they chose camp.
Okay.
And it was a lifesaver for a lot of them. We had a high percentage of folks that would not come back into the system. It was in the high 90s,
Yeah.
which is
Okay.
a recidivism rate that is enviable.
How long did you do that?
I did that for a year.
Okay. And that was from like
After
a
college,
summer type
yeah.
program?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a year round.
Yeah.
We would
Okay.
live with the kids, and I lived in a tent for over a year.
Wow.
And the kids, what made the magic happen is that the Baptist Children's Homes had this counseling staff that would go to the families and offer counseling, and that was huge.
So you saw the connection there was the child that was struggling.
Yeah.
There was a bigger piece there. It was
Yeah.
something needed help within the family
Exactly.
structure as well.
Exactly.
And that was, you could see that pattern time and again.
Absolutely.
Is
And
that
these-
organization still in existence?
Yeah, it's thriving. They've even gone to, it was the Cameron Boys Camp, and now they have a girls section for the girls. So it was a 900-acre campus. So
So at the time, it was a boys' camp.
it
at
was
that
boys
point.
only.
Got it.
But they've expanded.
How many boys did you work with?
Usually about 10
Okay.
to 11 in a group,
Okay. And how long
And-
would they stay in the program?
as long as they needed to be there.
Okay.
So, or they were. It was really about getting the parents back online and functional in the family unit.
Yeah.
But it was. You were a chief. That's what our title was. Is Chief Greg, and we'd had to have time off. However, when we get 2 days off, and then one chief would be in the group. If the group was not functioning well, they would take away your time off, and
Wow.
yeah. So
And did the boys know that if they didn't behave well, that there would be?
No, I don't think that was. It was just the way that the dynamics were of the
Okay.
groups, and I went 6
Because
months.
I thought maybe that would help, get the kids aligned to know
No.
that hey, it would affect you.
No.
No.
I went 6 months without a day of. 6 months straight working 24 hours a day with the kids.
So you didn't have time off. There were some challenges there getting these kids to. How did you get?
We were all burnt out.
How
And
did
I
you-
just left. I said, if I can't get time off, I'm going to leave.
So you did a year with that.
Just over
and
a
so
year,
it
yeah.
just didn't seem that they didn't. So at that time the organization it didn't work with what your needs were.
Yeah,
But-
I was young and single, but you need time to refresh, especially when you're in that constant environment.
Yeah,
And,
it's hard.
people were physically getting sick just from not having any rest. So,
Yeah.
but
You're talking about the Chiefs.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and it was all about I mean, keeping the groups safe.
Right.
You needed that extra manpower to
Right.
keep.
So they were short-staffed in a way that their business
in
model.
in a major way. They
They've
didn't
improved.
have.
I'm assuming they've improved
Yes,
since then.
they have.
Okay.
Absolutely.
They've changed. They've probably got some.
They-
Do you know how long the organization was in existence before you joined them?
I think since the 70s, yeah.
Okay, so it was
Yeah.
not something from the 50s or the 40s or something.
It could have been. I don't know
Not
the
sure.
exact history. I do know that Chief Mack was the main chief, and he had had an accident when he was younger, and he had a limp. His one leg was probably 3 or 4 inches shorter than the other leg, and he had a little cane and a shoe that was modified, and they thought, oh, he can't get around. Well, he could get around, and he overcame his disability, and he told the most amazing stories. Can I tell one of them?
Absolutely.
Okay. The chicken thief.
Okay.
There's a lot of thieves out there in the world.
So this is anecdotal, or this is a metaphor.
This is his story. Yeah.
Right.
This is the way he told it to the boys. And so he said, there's a lot of thieves out in the world. The worst one is the chicken thief. You know why? Because he does it quietly, and he does it at night, and nobody knows about it. Because he sneaks into the chicken coop. He's quiet. And he looks around, and nobody's seeing what he's doing. And he grabs the chicken, and chicken breaks his neck. And he gets out of there. He has the chicken, and nobody knows about it. That's why it's so dangerous, because he's good, and guess what? He gets away with it. But does he really live with himself, knowing that he's stealing people's chickens? I mean, is it worthwhile to be? What if he gets caught? He gets shot. What if what if the chickens, if he's not quiet enough, and the chickens grabble, they wake up, and then he's done. So he has to be good, and he has to be silent. But what if he's not? And he won't get away with it. And guess what? He'll end up in jail. That's not what you want, right? And that was, the boy, and just the way he told
Sure.
that and used his
drama.
voice, the drama.
Yeah.
It just caught their attention.
Yeah.
And
Got him to think.
Got them to think about they can get away with it, but are they really getting away with it? And over time, will they be able to get away with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll catch up with them.
It's good.
So.
It's good to know. That's
Yeah.
excellent. So you did a year, and then what'd you do?
I took that experience that I got. We did the Swanee River from the Okefenokee Swamp to the Gulf of Mexico, 30 days on a canoe trip. We'd planned trips, and that was the group at Cameron Boys Camp.
Okay, we're still there.
Yeah.
I was going to move
Yeah,
past
so
it, but you're still
So
in
yeah,
that.
I'm now build to
Gotcha.
where I'm going next. So we did tripping, and we would teach the boys the math through the tripping that we did. They would plan the menu and work out the numbers, how many we did, and that was the functional math that we did with them. Is
Sure. Practical.
Exactly, very
Yes.
practical.
Yes.
And so that led to, when I got done with that, I was a guide. I went to visit my sister in Boulder, Colorado, her graduation. And,
That was your other sister. That was
my
Meg.
younger, Meg.
Oh, that's Meg.
Yeah, so she graduated, and I went to go visit, and there was an advertisement for America's Adventure to be an outdoor guide. And
Oh, in
I had
Colorado.
experience in North Carolina and Florida and Georgia, doing our tripping and such.
Yeah.
And so that got me the job there. I did that for 3 years.
So you go out west for the first time?
Yeah, I went out in college to Oregon, to Southern Oregon with my brother.
Okay. Your older brother that
my
was
older
at
brother.
Oregon State.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'd gone to Southern Oregon
We
in
were-
the What would that be? Grants Pass region there, Rogue
Actually,
River?
it was Roseburg, close.
Yeah, yeah.
In the same area.
Yeah.
We would go in that area. I worked at a wildflower nursery, and he had a friend that had a nursery, and we had permits to go into the wilderness and pick up rhododendrons and different flowers. And
Okay, so you picked up a job when you were out there visiting.
yeah, I got paid, and it was the West. And when I got to, this was before the internet, right?
Of course.
And this is, probably 1983.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything about the Northwest, and I thought everybody lived in log cabins and dirt roads, and everybody worked in the timber community. And the only thing I knew about it was like the movie North by Northwest. I mean, that was what I thought everything was. I had no clue that they had an airport, or they had regular streets and stuff. I thought it was just all
Timber was big back then.
It was big.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a big timber, but I thought everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they had any cities or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it was a shock, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I did that, and that was a good.
And mountains that were bigger than what you had been experiencing even
much
in Georgia.
bigger. Yeah, we climbed Mount Thielsen, which was around 9,000 feet.
Yeah.
And, we were up on Hood a little bit, and didn't climb Hood, but.
So the climbing thing, because this has continued throughout your life to now, and but that started with the boys' camp where you started doing the hiking treks, and that's really where you got into.
Yeah.
Jersey doesn't have the hills and so forth the same. as you
Jersey
would have.
has High Point, and we would go there once in a while. High Point is 1,900 feet, and it's a hill.
Yeah, compared to even the Appalachians, that you've probably experienced in the Carolinas and so forth.
Yeah, we would go to hike at about 4,000 or 5,000 feet in the North Carolina. We go on backpacks in the Pisgah National Forest and such.
So I'm just going to take a break real quick here to explain that with Greg, he has this incredible ability to just move his legs in a way that I've rarely seen anybody where he just his normal pace is so much faster than what I would say normal people. So it's and you've mentioned that some of your siblings have that same characteristic.
And my sons and daughter.
Yeah.
And they blow me away.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the genes, and we went crazy.
So you found your space with the whole thing of, and I think it's a love that you have from what I've observed from you over the years to seek out those high points. And
Absolutely.
we're talking about 10,000 feet peaks that you just thrive on.
Absolutely. Or 14ers. I used to, in Colorado, when I worked for America's Adventure, we would climb 14ers.
Wow. Huge.
So,
huge.
Yeah. We would, lots of stories there. Getting stuck at the top of a ridge, and you're a few hundred feet from the summit, and you have a group of 12 to 13 kids, and a lightning storm comes in, and everybody's hair is standing on end, and that lightning is about to strike.
And what'd you guys do with that?
We got off the ridge as fast as we could, but we had one of the kids went catatonic with fear.
Yeah.
And we had to make a gurney because he
froze up.
He froze up.
Yeah, he couldn't move.
Yeah.
Oh
so
my gosh, that's
we took some of the packs that we, like you would, you kind of splice them together, and we made a little makeshift bed for him, and had 4 guys, and we hiked them out of there. The lightning is just popping all over the place.
That's an amazing story. Yeah,
and
that's something.
And it was a beautiful day, and just all of a sudden, whack.
That's like 2:00 the afternoon. That thing. It's all of a sudden the clouds just come in.
Yeah.
You start to see it. You hear it in the distance, and then it's on you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was frightening, but I led trips for 3 years there, and the worst accident I had was when my coworker, because we had a male and female guide, and she slid her tendon on her hand, and that was the worst that happened. So when you can lead trips for 3 years, and the worst that happens is a tendon in camp near a hospital, by the way, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
Because you've got kids that are, these were chairman of the board of American Express kids.
Kids that didn't necessarily have experience out there in the outdoors.
We had one kid. His name is Daron.
I think you told me to tell me this one. This is a good one.
We had a great group that year because the kids just coalesced around him, and we had a thing that everybody did everything, right? And you can only go as fast as your slowest member. We were slow, but they encouraged him.
What do you mean by everybody did everything?
Well, you couldn't pass. You know, if you were doing rock climbing, you had to do at least some rock climbing. If you were doing rafting, you had to do some rafting.
Okay,
so there's no outs.
There was you were going to be doing an activity.
Yeah.
And that was the program. Was that
exactly?
You know,
if you were
learned.
backpacking, you were going to backpack. You were slow,
Right.
but you did it,
Right.
and you had that success.
Yeah.
And so, and everybody was cheering you on. And,
How long were these sessions?
30 days.
30 days. Okay.
And Daron came to us probably 250 pounds as a junior. And he left, I think, at under 200. And his parents give us a huge bonus. He goes, he's been to many camps to lose weight, never done it.
Yeah.
Never done it. And he went back the next year also. It was just, I mean, he slept in his sleeping bag. He carried his backpack around, changed his life just by encouraging him and not giving up on him.
It's huge.
I mean, that was, and the group was involved too, and we were encouraging and yeah, it was good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those group experiences, and it sticks with you. You remember that to this day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about
Absolutely.
that? Gosh, I'll bet he remembers you too. So you did that for 3 years.
Yeah, I would lead trips in the summer and then go to different jobs in the winter. I led sea kayak trips in Monterey, California,
Okay.
and did that for 2 years.
How'd you hook up with that?
I had a girlfriend that I was with, and she knew. She worked at the Monterey Bay Aquarium and knew the owners of Monterey Bay Kayaks, and
I think they're still in business.
they certainly are.
Yeah, we get out there quite a bit.
Yeah.
And past them, they're thriving right now.
Absolutely.
So you learned to kayak. You knew how to kayak before from river kayaking and so forth. So
It was a different beast. Yeah.
the ocean is a different play.
Oh, it's a way different play, and we would have a couple trips. We'd have an ocean trip, and then we would also have a slough trip.
Yeah,
The
Elkhorn Slough. Yeah. Yeah.
And
You see the sea
so we'd
otter.
have the rich folks come from San Francisco, and we give them a good tour. And one gal did not want to get her feet wet. She had these beautiful leather shoes, and she would not get out of the kayak, and not happening. She would not get out.
My goodness.
And what do you do, right? It's wet. I'm not going to put my beautiful shoes on this, wetness. And stupidly, I encouraged her, and I actually laid down next to the boat. She stepped on me
To get off the boat.
to get off the boat. Yeah,
Wow.
I had my wetsuit on, so I wasn't, wasn't, but still, it's like,
Oh my God.
why would I do that to encourage her to, it's like when you go sea kayaking, you need to wear the proper shoes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. You have here something we spoke of just before we came on today. Two things. One was a near-death experience, and one is forestry experience. You want to touch into either one of those? I want to touch into both of those.
Yeah,
but
sure.
What would you like to play on?
We'll start with forestry, and then we'll go to
Okay.
the-
And was that out in Oregon?
yeah.
Okay.
So
With your brother?
No,
Okay.
with Miller Timber,
Okay.
and I did contract work for a bit of time, and we would do whatever the seasonal. It's very seasonal. You plant trees in the winter. You do the Christmas trees, which I hated.
Why'd you hate it?
because you were under a gun and you had to get as many Christmas trees as you could to the truck without damaging the trees. And
Okay, so it was the cutting the trees down, right?
Cutting the trees
and then
down.
did you wrap them? Did you?
Yeah, we had to wrap them. We had
Right.
to keep them perfect, you
Yeah.
know, and then we had to do it quickly, and
Right.
they were wet.
Right.
So it was just,
Damn. Yeah, that time of the year. So you're talking about
Yeah.
around Thanksgiving,
yeah,
or even a little bit
absolutely.
earlier.
A little bit earlier.
After
yeah.
October.
But it was still rainy. It was the rainy season, so it was
Yeah.
just, you know, you brought your slickers, but you were still wet
Yeah.
all the time, and it was cold.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was not a fun part of the job. But I also worked planting trees. That was kind of fun. A lot of hard work. You're just bending over and you're planting a ton of trees in a row, hopefully. And
Those were the Christmas trees. or different
no,
trees?
different trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
There
what
were
was the
different
planting?
contracts that would
What was
happen.
that? What was that contract? Planting.
Planting, and then
But tell me about that. The planting. The whole concept of planting trees.
oh, you'd have your axe, you'd make a hole, and then you'd put the tree in there. You'd have about 100 trees on you, and you'd put the tree in.
So
and,
just a
and
little
the
sapling then?
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
sapling. The idea was is that you had to have it straight. The root was important
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because you could not have a J root.
Okay.
And if you had a J root, the tree might not grow right.
Okay.
So you had to make sure that the root was in the ground.
So you have
And
to
straight.
have the hole deep enough to
Right.
get the root ball, not the ball, but just the string.
Right, the string.
What
and it
type
could-
of what type of a tree were they?
They were all usually dug first.
Uh-huh.
So.
And
but
did
yeah.
you say you had to have a
Yes, correctly space them. Yeah,
Okay.
usually about 3 paces.
and
Between.
was this like a crop where they would
Oh, absolutely.
they're cutting, and then
Yeah.
is it after the cut that you would plant in the
Yep.
same?
We'd have to wait for a couple years,
Okay.
and then we'd trail out around it so you could get access to it. So it was a multi-phase thing where they'd have the burners come in, you know, get rid of all of the small brush and such, and then they'd wait a little bit of time, and then they'd plant it, and then they'd have trails and things like that. So there are different jobs in there.
Yeah.
I liked the trailing crew the best because you were working hard and building a trail and had something at the end of the day that you could see what you had built. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And necessary. But then after the trees grew for a couple of years, then I got into more of an assay, and you go through and see what was eating said trees, how they were doing, see if the mountain beaver was eating them or if deer were eating them, and you could tell the different critters that were chomping on them. And then you fill up a report and then send that to the Forest Service so that they could report and take care of the issue.
Okay. Okay.
They'd let out contracts for trapping mountain beaver if mountain beaver was eating your crop, or trying to put mitigation efforts for deer and stuff.
So just the battling the crop as a tree crop, and then your natural predators that were working
Yeah.
against the trees.
In a very vertical environment. It was challenging terrain. I would be in forests of thimbleberry and devil's club over my head, right? And you have to try to keep a straight line, and you're in this forest that's way over your head of weeds and such. And the saving grace was my cork boots. I had rubber cork boots, and so I could be on the slimiest log, and because it had spikes in it, I could climb over anything.
You did some hard work, Greg.
It was very hard
Oh,
work.
goodness. How long did you do that?
Oh, about 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then I got married, and life changed.
Yeah, we could go into that whole space. What's this near-death thing?
Yeah, I have sleep apnea, and
So this happened
last year too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So I was sleeping, and then all of a sudden I'm in like this like tunnel, like how they describe it. I'm in this tunnel, and there's bright light. It was like a lens. It was dark, and then all of a sudden this lens opened up, and it was just this pure light. And I went through the tunnel. I guess I was not breathing at the time because of the sleep apnea, but I felt this unbelievable peace. I mean, just this hum. It was, I think, the spirit is my guess. Just this energy, that you will, of the universe, and it was so peaceful and so calm, and yet I'm not afraid of death anymore. You know, it's like, it's just this unbelievable. It was kind of green clouds, white buildings, and I could hear my mom and my dad and my aunt who had passed, and I was just around the corner when I came out of it. So, but yeah, it was just that being one. It was like the river of life, you might say, and just this unbelievable sound of just this energy of the universe, and it was amazing. But I think it was what was I was listening to a sermon the other day, and that's really what the Spirit, I think, is this life, and it connects everything, and I think that's where I was at, in the
amazing.
Spirit.
So that's the one time you've had that, and
I've had it twice, but I didn't get.
Okay.
So yeah, just when
when
I stopped breathing.
That time, or one before that time?
Before that time, it wasn't as memorable.
Okay.
So.
Do you have something that helps you now, or is it just something?
No, I don't care. If I go, I'm great. I will be one with the universe in the Spirit, because it is amazing.
Wow.
I'm not afraid of going, because you're part of the universe, and the part of the Spirit. It's amazing.
Well, I think this is a good break point. We're going to take a little break, and then let's see if we pick it up, or if we just run this out. So let's take a break now.
Okay.
And we'll see you back in a little bit.
Ready?
All right. Part 2, we're back from our break. Greg,
Yes,
near-death experience.
absolutely.
And now we're going to go in your second part here. You mentioned after that forestry work that you got married.
Yes,
Yeah, big change in your life there.
yes,
And,
absolutely.
yeah, and
Best change.
and then you went and you got another degree.
It was yeah.
So tell me about that. You got one degree.
Yeah.
You have a degree of a Bachelor of Arts in Business from Berry College.
Yeah.
And then what prompted you to get another degree?
My mom got talking to me about education, and it's in the family, and I was thinking, let's go ahead and get an education degree and become. I really wanted to do secondary, but she thought that the action was in elementary, and thinking about it, it's like, I should have kept it in the secondary. But she would get kids, the system had already done their deal on them. And her thought was, well, in the elementary, we can form them a little bit easier than being at the end of the system. And I was trying to go for the middle school, but they wouldn't do a middle school certification. You had to be either elementary or secondary. So, because I like the middle schoolers, they're fast and loose, and it's always dynamic, and I just love that. that environment there in the middle school. But I couldn't get certified in it. So I get a 3.75 GPA in my education program. Things are going swimmingly, and they have a special program that they want me to try out without a mentor in the classroom. And I'd just be thrown into a classroom by myself. And after school, I could have a mentor available. And she was on a maternity break, and it was horrible. I had passed my first block of student teaching and got asked to be part of this program without a teacher in the classroom. And it was a very challenging classroom to start out with.
And where was that? In
Meridian School District.
Okay. And Meridian is where in proximity to
it's the
to
next
Boise?
town over from Boise.
Okay.
And so they were trying something new, and I was game. I shouldn't have been game. I should have had the structure of learning it in the classroom. And I just had these very, very challenging students as a student teacher with no backup.
Yeah.
And during that time, my mom was facing cancer, and I left. It was an experiment, and I said, it shouldn't have been, and I left the program, and my mom died, and so it was tough to. And I went. She was back in Florida, so it was not set up well. The advising teacher was not available. It was just a terrible program. So
And how long did you stay in the program before you left it? Did you stay?
I was there
was it
for-
a whole year?
well, I was only there for 3 months.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then they understood that it was an experiment that didn't go well.
Yeah.
And I was told that I would be able to continue my second block, which this was. And after I got, back burying my mom, because they wouldn't allow any time to for grief. I had no time off. I could not take any days off. So, yeah, that was a tough time. But, I did learn one thing from it, though, is that I liked technology in teaching. So that kind
So
of...
you found that within that experience.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that play out? How did you find that?
Well,
At that time, they were
Oh,
integrating.
It was 56K modem that I was dealing with, and it was painful. But I enjoyed trying to solve the problem, and I liked to be able to present the kids with the World Wide Web and doing search and research in the classroom.
So that got you moving in a new direction.
Exactly.
So tell me what happened after that. We moved education off the map, and
Well,
and you
but
go
I
into a
still
different
liked
direction.
education.
Right.
So I got a job at Quest and Micron. They were technology companies.
Okay.
And then I worked there for a few years, but then I got a break, and since I had some experience in the technology from Micron and from
That's a local company here in the Boise area.
semiconductor,
Yeah.
and with Quest, I was in the Wireless Center of Excellence and working with high-speed internet and cell phones and things. And I was also a Mac person, and so I got a job at Pacific University in Forest Grove, Oregon, which necessitated a move of the family, but it was a good experience.
So by that time, you had how many children?
I had all three. Yeah.
All three. You had three kids at that
Yeah.
point here in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
They started their
Yeah.
lives here in Boise, and then you packed up and left for Corvallis. And
Yeah.
there was history there with your
Yeah.
older brother.
Yeah, and actually, Nina's, my wife's family, were nearby. So her sister lived in Corvallis, and her brother was in Junction City, about 20 minutes away.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was a good place to be back to, and yeah, it was with family and her mom, and lived not far away, and so it was good to be back in Oregon
Yeah.
for a period.
Yeah.
So
You worked for the university for quite a while.
yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was great. And then they stopped supporting Macs officially. So just as a new CIO came in and didn't want to support Macs, and they support them now, but that was water under the bridge. But I enjoy helping people,
Yeah.
and I built a lot of trust and helped solve a lot of problems, and that's what I like the most is helping people solve their technology problems.
Yeah.
And being a help in any way I can during that process of working with technology.
Excellent.
So yeah, and Pacific was grand. It was a good stable income with great benefits, and I could take time off to backpack and do things. And I was in the outdoor program with them, helping lead trips, backpacking, and river rafting and things. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
It was a good mix of my past with the outdoor experiences through the outdoor program and my technology. So moving on there.
And then what happened?
After I left Pacific, I still liked technology. I wasn't in the school like I wanted to be. I really liked the school environment, that learning, that questioning, and new things. And so I got into the corporate world and got into the Windows universe, which wasn't so bad as I thought it was. I was a Mac specialist, and it was difficult at first. When I first got there, I could barely even operate a PC, but just over time, I got used to it, and now I'm fairly proficient. I'm much more proficient in Mac, but I have good chops now, and through my experiences in technology with the Windows platform. So right now, my philosophy is you have to use the tool that works.
Right.
Whatever works to solve the problem. Is it going to be a Chromebook? Is it going to be a MacBook? Is it going to be a PC? You have to use the tool that solves the problem and does the job.
You found yourself back, circling back in education, and you actually worked for a period of time in Corvallis.
Yeah.
In the school district.
Yeah.
But not in the teaching role, but in the IT role.
Exactly.
And I remember you sharing stories about, those and obviously, being the tech guy that helps out when there's a big issue and teacher needs a presentation.
Yep.
And you were able to help that in that environment. And moving straight ahead, you've moved past that since, and you're now actually quite mobile, where you're kind of on the move quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I solved the PC nut, and I'm proficient there. And I saw in technology there's been a lot of change with
You've
AI.
seen that. You've really been in that now.
Oh yeah, and with AI and the cloud platforms that are occurring, and a lot of my buddies have lost their jobs, replaced either by AI or by the cloud from other countries and such. So places that I've been have had layoffs, and it's a tough world out there. So
And you're
the
so
person,
you're navigating through this.
yeah,
This whole minefield that's happening, this
Right.
whole disruption that's happening
Yeah.
in the marketplace, and worker anxiety and so forth that's happening with
Yeah.
with skilled tech people. Tell me more about that. What do you see?
Well, I see that the hands that actually create this stuff, you can't roboticize that. I put in servers and switches, the manual part of that, and that's not going away. I mean,
the placement of tools and the
Yeah.
making sure the tools work effectively.
right,
That's-
and actually plugging in the wires into the switch.
Right.
Right, that part is you can't replace that.
So in the way, not to be disparaging, but it's the plumbing.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
remember
yeah,
growing up in the Bay Area in Silicon
Yeah.
Valley, and
absolutely.
John Chambers, the CEO of
Yeah.
Cisco, would talk about we're the plumbers.
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
the background. It's a very
Yeah.
important part of the business, but
Absolutely,
it
100%.
is it's not the sexy stuff, but it's the
No.
stuff that has to happen.
It has to happen in the background, and somebody has to be there to plug it in, and that's the job that I'm doing right now at these. I work with a company called Tanager Incorporated, and we have a contract for 6,000 hotels in Marriott, and so I go to Marriott hotels, putting in switches and working in their network closets and hooking up the wires, and you can't get a computer to do that, and you can't outsource that. So that's kind of my direction right now is to work in a network closet, and sometimes they're good and organized and well labeled, and sometimes it's a rat's nest.
So you went from Corvallis, education, support, and then you guys made a foray into Los Angeles in that area.
Yeah.
We won't go into that space so much, but that was more driven by your wife's work.
Yeah.
And you found yourself back in a place that I think both of you really enjoy.
Oh,
and
it's
what is
amazing.
it at the core about this town specifically, because you moved back specifically to this town, Boise, Idaho. What is it about Boise that really just draws you guys back?
The freedom that Boise offers. You can do what you want to do, and nobody's going to judge you. It's an open community. But there's not this overhanging feeling that you have to act a certain way. It's like the Wild West, if you will.
Yeah.
You go and you do your thing, and nobody's there to, get in your way. Yeah,
that sense.
it's. But yeah, you're respectul of people, and you follow the golden rule, and we have our daughters.
For what that means for young viewers that may not be aware of the golden rule, what in a nutshell.
Treat others like you want to be treated,
Mm-hmm.
and be respectful, be courteous, be helpful. We have so many people that all they do is this. They don't look and see where the needs are, or, they're just so focused on, and I see parents do that too, and they just forget their kids. It's just, it's awful that we've made this society.
Speaking of a young dad with his young son, there on the side, you can't see it, but they're having a ball here going through this park area here. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So what do you see?
But I think that we have a church that we're members of, and active in that, and we have friends that we've had for since we were here the last time. So it's like an old home party.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your sense? I'm going to go into technology a little bit, if we can jump into that space, back into there. What do you see in the next 5 years? Let's look at a 5-year window of where we're going technologically, and the emerging AI space. There's a lot of predictions as to what may happen with employment and automation and what may be happening in the future of this country and in other environments.
Yeah, I sat next to a gentleman who does the programming for Microsoft and the large language models, and he made a prediction that in 5 to 10 years, 80% of the jobs would be gone. That they've gotten the ability to do the automation and
80% of
all jobs.
Yeah, that is something that we're hearing out there.
I think he has drank the Kool-Aid. I think that it's probably not 80, but I think it's around 50% that like sales jobs, administration jobs. That's how come I like doing the hands-on things that you can't automate. It's tough. So there's a couple of factors. One is supercomputing, and I think that is the biggest problem over AI. Because when we have these quantum computers, the algorithms are going to be useless, our protection algorithms. So they are going to be out the window. And we're going to need quantum encryption to make anything safe. So their current encryption won't hold up, and yet it's going to be limited. Quantum computing is going to grow like regular computing, and not everybody's going to have a quantum computer like they have a regular computer and in these data centers. So, and I think it's on a national level. What nation is going to have their feet in these quantum computers first is really going to rule the world.
Yeah, these computer systems take a lot of energy.
Yeah.
It sounds like we have a real challenge with that as far as where this energy is going to come from and what our energy sources are. So it's a whole nother space.
Yeah.
I think we can jump into a whole nother program with that as we go forward.
Yeah.
What do you see in your future in the next 5 years?
I like to help people in technology, and I'll adjust. I like working with people. I like working in office environments, helping solve problems, and I'll be using AI tools, and because you have to use the tool that's at hand, so I'll be using AI tools to help solve problems. I'll be delivering computers. I think it's on that delivery aspect. I think that's on that front end, being as you said, the plumbers. Yeah. I think that's where I like being.
Yeah, one thing I read a piece yesterday was actually she's a director. I can't remember exact title of PepsiCo, and she was mentioning that a lot of companies now are concerned of being caught flat-footed when the internet came aboard and they were and the cloud and so forth, and companies were sitting back. And I think that what she mentioned is a lot of companies are don't want to get caught flat-footed and fall behind. So they're embracing AI in a way that we haven't seen before. So it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out.
Not all ventures with AI are going to work out. This is new territory, and between And then, that's part of it too, is that we have this new energy. We have these batteries, these lithium-ion batteries that are going to be replaced by solid-state batteries. And we have fusion is now at least, it used to be 10, 20 years away, but now it's 5,
Possibility of harnessing that type of energy in a
It's,
safe way.
the Chinese have a sustained reaction for 48 seconds.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
We couldn't get more than a few milliseconds before, but now to have it at that level, it's saying that it's closer at hand than we think. So.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be this race is going between the United States and China right now,
Yeah.
and it does seem with China not having the same type of regulatory environment of restrictions where they can simply just bring things online, whether it's coal or any other source they want to.
Yeah.
And here in the West, we have all sorts of restrictions that we have to work under.
Right.
It makes it more challenging. So I'm looking around here at our location, and there's definitely something happening here.
Yeah.
There's some activity. We thought it was closed on Sunday, but there may be some type of event happening. So I think it's probably wise for us to look at wrapping it up.
Okay.
And we'll look at doing a second segment, maybe in a few months. I'd like to get you in our regular rotation.
All right.
Greg Orlowsky. One last question I have for you, Greg. Your middle name is Wood.
Yeah.
Briefly give us a briefing on where your middle name comes from. I'm very curious about that.
It's very common in the English to have the mother's maiden name, which my mother's name was Mary Beth Wood, to give that to your sons as a middle name, so that the name keeps on going through the generations.
Got it.
So,
Very good. Makes sense.
So
Okay.
Gregory.
That sounds great. Greg, great conversation. Everybody out there, Uncommon Talks with Michael A. Vickers. Until next time, we'll see you. Bye-bye.